Welcome back to the best book ever. I think we can all sympathise with Mary and Joseph in today's reading. They had settled down in Bethlehem when something happened to turn their entire world upside down. But before we turn to the Bible, a word of warning. This extract is not PG rated, meaning you will not find it included in many church sermons. If you are of a delicate or sensitive personality, please turn off now. If you are underage, what are you doing watching YouTube unsupervised? Give the technology back to your grown-up now. Right. Assuming those who need to have taken my warning and left, let's turn to Matthew chapter 2, verses 12 to 18. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. When they had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. "Get up," he said, "take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." So he got up, took the child and his mother during the night and left for Egypt, where he stayed until the death of Herod. And so was fulfilled what the Lord had said through the prophet, "Out of Egypt I called my son." When Herod realized that he had been outwitted by the Magi, he was furious, and he gave orders to kill all the boys in Bethlehem and its vicinity who were 2 years old and under, in accordance with the time he had learnt from the Magi. Then what was said through the prophet Jeremiah was fulfilled. "A voice is heard in Ramah, weeping and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted, because they are no more." The rich, powerful, and frightened King Herod thought he had tricked the wise men into doing his will. He thought everyone did exactly as he told them to, because he was the king. He wanted to find out where Jesus was so he could eliminate his rival before the baby could become a threat, and these magi were the perfect tools to find the child without raising suspicion. Herod had the power and authority that Mary and Joseph lacked, but he was not interested in obeying God. Herod's plans failed, as so often happens, because he worked against God's plans. God sent a dream to the Magi, warning them to leave without returning to Herod. These men were wise enough to recognize the dream as from God, to understand the message, and to obey it fully. Then God sent another angel to Joseph in a dream, telling him to get up and go to Egypt. Why did the Magi get a dream and Joseph an angel? God knew the best way to communicate with each person and used it. He still does. Possibly Joseph's dreams are also a reference to his namesake with the colourful coat. When the Magi came, They had a choice of roads to Bethlehem, east or west. They chose the eastern road near the Jordan River, as this one passed through the capital city of Jerusalem. But they must have left using the western coast road, completely avoiding Jerusalem and its surrounding area. When Mary and Joseph left Bethlehem, God provided for their needs. They were wide awake and refreshed in the middle of the night, with ample resources to obey the call to go. I'm guessing it was a full moon to provide enough light for packing without needing to light a candle and alert onlookers. And then later it was a cloudy night to help them sneak away from the approaching guards without being seen. Now, the Magi could have brought different, less valuable gifts. I've come across a variation of the story where the three wise women bring baby toys, nappies, and a map for the journey to Egypt. But these would have been rather less useful to the family. By giving gold, frankincense, and myrrh, the Magi provided Mary and Joseph with exactly what they needed. Easily transportable wealth that could be traded without too many questions to provide transport to Egypt and to cover start-up costs in a foreign land where these goods were actually more valuable than they were in Israel. When God calls, he always provides. This was true in the Bible, and it's still true today. For example, I have known the call to join overnight prayer meetings twice. For someone who needs sleep as much as I do, this is a big sacrifice, both regarding the night's sleep and the following day's work. Normally, if I miss even 1.5 hours sleep, the next day is significantly impacted for the worse. But when God calls me to pray all night, he provides. On both occasions, I have been able to stay awake praying all night and have worked well the next day. The Bible says Jesus went to Egypt not only to escape the threat of death, but to fulfill prophecy. Out of Egypt I will call my son. This is part of a much longer reading in Hosea, where God tells Israel off for failing to follow him faithfully once he has called them out of Egypt. Meanwhile, he has remained faithful to the nation of Israel. Did Matthew choose this quote to remind us that where we fail to obey, Jesus succeeded? Next, the scene moves to Herod's throne room. We find the jealous king realizing he's been tricked and made a fool of by the Magi from the east. He is not amused. In fact, he is absolutely furious. In his anger, he orders the mass slaughter of children. Every boy under the age of 3, 2 years old and under, and living near Bethlehem, was murdered in cold blood. Herod knew how old Jesus would be because he had questioned the Magi very closely, but he left a margin of error, should someone try and trick the guards into thinking their child was older than they really were. It is generally accepted that Jesus was 2 years old when he became a refugee in Egypt, because of how old Herod said the children needed to be if they were to live. Any Jew who heard of this massacre would have immediately linked it to the slaughter ordered by Pharaoh when the Jews were slaves in Egypt, as recorded in Exodus chapter 1, verses 15 to 22, and to the birth and adoption of Moses, recorded in the very next chapter. Moses was the man born in the midst of slaughter, the slaughter of children, in order to redeem the people of Israel from slavery in Egypt, just as Jesus was born in the midst of slaughter, or drawn out of the midst of slaughter, in order to redeem the people of the world from slavery to sin and death. I find it fascinating that Matthew chose to link this massacre with the verse in Jeremiah 31, verses 15. This verse is about 1/3 of the way through a passage promising freedom, deliverance, and restoration from a season of oppression. Many scholars link this extract to the fact that Rachel died giving birth to Benjamin near Bethlehem, and how she wept as she died, convinced that her son would also die. Few remember that Rachel named her son Ben-Oni, meaning son of my trouble, and that it was Jacob who named him Benjamin, meaning son of my right hand, a name of honour and strength. Many say that Rachel's tears were prophetic, predicting the day many thousands of Jews would be killed and exiled to Babylon. Here, Matthew uses those same tears to point out that this season of intense sorrow and mourning will be transformed into joy when the promised Messiah claims the victory that is his birthright. Or, to put it another way, trouble would become a place of honour and joy. Matthew wanted us to place the massacre of innocent children in the context of victory guaranteed. Next week, we have a short but generally ignored passage from Jesus' childhood. I'll see you then. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this clip. Most important of all, God bless you. Bye for now.